Last week, Chancellor Rishi Sunak announced a new series of economic measures designed to help people with the cost of living crisis. Now, this includes a £400 grant off energy bills paid by the windfall tax, obviously, on profits of energy companies.
Yes, well, Labour's Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, welcomed the announcement, saying, quote, "We welcome the fact that the government is finally acting on our calls to introduce a windfall tax, and it's good to see the SNP U-turning today and saying they're now in favour of a windfall tax on oil and gas profits." Well, are the Chancellor's measures enough to tackle the cost of living crisis? And should he even be making all those interventions as a Conservative Chancellor? Well, Julian Jessop is an independent economist and joins us now to answer some of our questions. Look, sometimes when we're discussing fiscal issues, we can get caught up in jargon, and I think it's easy for people in the media to forget that people at home, they just care about how much more money am I going to have in my bank account at the end of every month. So if you could you sort of break down the actual cash sums and the grants and things people will be receiving on a low income?
OK, well, first of all, I must admit I spent most this weekend arguing about this package with people. I think there are lots of people who are very uncomfortable about it. For a start, it is very expensive. I mean, the true cost is probably somewhere north of 20 billion, not the 15 billion headline number. A lot of the money will clearly go to people who don't really need it. So everybody will benefit from a £400 discount on their energy bills, whether they're rich or poor. And indeed, if you own more than one home, you'll get more than one discount. And I think also it's not really a substitute for the longer term solutions to these problems, supply side reforms, tax cuts and so on. But in the short term, I think it's definitely the right thing to do. There will be some quite substantial payments to people. It depends which category you're in, but if you're on certain types of income-related means-tested benefits, you'll get quite a substantial payment, which could easily be, say, £650. If you're a pensioner, you'll get an additional top-up payment similar to the winter fuel allowance. And if you're disabled, you'll get a payment on top of that as well. So a lot of the money is being well targeted at those that need it most. But the overall package is very expensive, and I fully understand why lots of people are uncomfortable about it.
I just wanted to ask, what is the aversion to properly targeting it, or let me not say properly, targeting it towards the lowest income people? Because as you say, some of millionaires will be getting some support at this rate. Is it because it would cost so much to administer that it would sort of wipe out the benefits if you decided to target it towards specific people?
Well, that's right. I mean, there's a trade-off here between simplicity on the one hand and effectiveness on the other. There isn't a list somewhere of the most vulnerable people that the government can just target. Now, you can identify those people on certain types of benefit, and clearly they need more support than others. But there'll always be some people who, for whatever reason, will fall through the cracks. So you need to top up targeted benefits with something that will effectively go to everybody. That's not ideal, but as I say, over the weekend, lots of people coming up with alternative plans actually will be less effective in some way. So, for example, if you were to cut VAT, that would actually benefit most people who spend the most on energy. And those are typically richer people in bigger houses, not poorer people. So there's no easy solution here. I think this sort of general approach of targeting most of the money, but recognising you need a universal top-up in addition to that is probably the right way to go.
Is there a bit of an issue, though? Because we are not a socialist country, really, at all. And we basically didn't vote for a left-wing government, in a sense. And now, clearly, some of these policies are not exactly what one would argue being true Conservative policies. Is there a risk now that either A, they're lying to us, or B, we're going to end up with a load of people who basically always have the hand out and expect a government that's going to be able to give them things?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid concern, particularly, of course, on top of the enormous amounts of money the government had to spend during the pandemic to prop up the economy, to support businesses and jobs. So we've had two one-off crises in quick succession. And, what happens when the next one comes along, whatever that might be. So I fully get that concern. On the other hand, I don't think there's anything particularly unconservative about helping people in need during what is an unprecedented cost of living crisis. And the cold reality is that cash payments to some and a universal discount for everybody is the most effective way of getting money into people's pockets as quickly as possible. Some of the other solutions are better in the long run, so supply side reforms and tax cuts, but they don't work as quickly as the measures that have actually been taken. So I don't think it's either or. I think you need to do those supply side reforms and those tax cuts as well. But the immediate problem that you face is best dealt with by these cash payments and a universal discount.
Thank you very much. Always an absolute pleasure, my good man. Julian Jessop there, of course, independent economist, whizzing you through the latest when it comes to the cost of living crisis, a massive issue that all of you obviously care about. It does affect us all.